Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online is talking to Dr. Robbie Robinson, a veteran commentator on research and development in South Africa and a person with immense experience in the R&D field. How can we make best use of the surfeit of mining engineering students graduating and at the same time create economic business cases to actually extract some value out of that for South Africa?
I remember very clearly at the time, at Wits, for example, 20 mining engineers graduating every year and maybe about 10, 12 of extraction metallurgists. Now suddenly, very pleasingly, let me say, we now seem to run into the 100 category of numbers. And moreover, they're the sort of people that we desperately need to get into the mining industry. 40% of them are apparently women, and many of them cannot find jobs. And the question is, how best are we going to use these people to spearhead a revolution in teaching, training, and more than anything else in research, because there is so much wonderful research to be done to restore the whole mining industry. Now, first of all, let me just talk about their training. They have been given some of the best training in the world, unquestionably. Best training because it is right up to date. It is computerized training. They've been subjected to this audio-visual training on 3 dimensions using computer techniques of all that you have to know in doing the mathematics and the technical side of what mining is. And of course a lot of that falls over into the extraction metallurgy and the many other areas of engineering like civil engineering and geological engineering and agricultural engineering. How is this going to be put together into a coherent whole where you're using these people to the best? Now, my suggestion made in many journal comments and more recently in last month's journal comment is to set up mining clusters. And in these clusters, the clusters are going to comprise the mining activity with all its ramifications, all the underground working and everything else. But in addition, it is going to have schools associated with it and training centers. And these schools and training centers are going to be patronized by the people on the mines and even maybe some visitors from overseas and many others. And these schools and training centers are going to be subjected to the same sort of training that these hundreds of mining engineers were subjected to at Wits and Pretoria and the other universities, Johannesburg University and the rest of them who are involved in engineer training. And this is going to extend now into the other engineering disciplines automatically. The example has been set.
To just sum up your vision.
These mining engineers now are going to interact with the students. They are going to be career advisors to them, and they are going to lead these school students into a research and innovation philosophy. Not full-time, they're not going to become teachers, they're still going to be doing jobs on the mining, but they are going to participate in some of the exciting research work that can be done in mining clusters.
And will there be an economic underpin to that vision that you have?
Who's going to pay for all this? At the end of the day, job creation means finding goods and services to make or supply which have an added value component which pays a decent salary. We can do this if we use these mining clusters to set an example for the rest of the country to follow. They're not only going to be mining clusters, they're going to be industrial clusters and all sorts of other clusters right across the country. And now we come to a key word, agricultural clusters. Because this is where the majority of jobs and opportunities are going to be created in the country. And then we come and say, well, what's that got to do with the mining industry? Mining industry and agriculture speak different languages. The steps to put this all together has already started. And I've mentioned here in some of my journal comments and some of the things I've written about is, for example, the Western Area Mine. And they had created lots of slimes, dams and wasteland around the mine. And they had also established, it belonged to the mighty Johannesburg Consolidated Investment Company. And they had a company called Tavland. It was an agricultural company. And Tavland came along and said, you know, we've got all this wasteland here. The mine has stopped operating. We've got lots of water because they're in the Dolomitic region, and the water they had to initiate cementation to stop it getting underground, but they had water. And they said, let's see what we can do in terms of drip irrigation of agricultural farming. And they set up Tavland, which was an immense success. They grew fruit trees. They are even growing olives. They all by subsurface drip irrigation. And they packed these fruits that they developed, you know, beautiful peaches, nectarines, olives, you name it. And they had packing houses. They selected them, and they employed something like 10,000 people from Randfontein and the surrounding areas of Carletonville and the rest to come and help generate these and send them off overseas, and they made a fortune. You can get farmer families running small lot agriculture using drip irrigation and producing a whole variety of crops, which can range from fruit, as the one I mentioned, but certainly maize, for example. You can produce, just as a matter of interest, you can grow tobacco plants, because you may or may not have heard that South African Airways are putting 70 billion, but together with Boeing, into producing aviation fuel from the oil, the fatty oil from tobacco plants. And you can cultivate this on small lot farming using drip irrigation.
And would this be on mine land?
That can be on waste mine land. This is the beauty of it, provided that you have gone to the trouble so your waste slimes dams do not contain toxic metals. And thus you're using this ion exchange process to make sure that if you have been not doing this in the past, you can extract those slimes dams, take out all the toxicity, including uranium, which if left behind in the slimes dam causes all sorts of radiation problems, which are well known and well reported in the press. You take all that out, you take all the toxic metals out, and you recover them, and you leave behind an inert slimes dam, which is absolutely ideal for drip irrigation. Hence the tie-up with the mining industry. These are flat lands, and you can do beautiful small lot farming. And in many of my editorials, I've given some details of what you can grow and how much money you can make out of it. But the important thing is it's going to be giving an added income to the mining cluster. And not only that, having produced goods from this farming, you are going to set up a whole little industry, what we call guaranteeing sustainability. You're going to have clinics there. You're going to have people to convert your goods, be whatever they may, into food, into ethanol, which is a very useful food for mining purposes, and so on and so forth, different products. And you will form up a cluster village, which, when the mine finally winds down, can continue going on the agricultural front and many other industrial fronts associated with agriculture and ex-mining activity using the wastelands produced the mine. That is the vision for the future.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online, talking to Dr. Robbie Robinson, a veteran commentator on research and development, particularly for the mining sector.